Good morning and welcome to another Rose Red Homestead MicroMoment. We're going to talk about two topics relative to canning that have been requested by multiple people. One is, first of all, what the heck does it mean finger tight? What does that mean? And then the second is siphoning, when you lose water out of your jars during the canning processing. And actually these two things are related. So let's first of all talk about what is finger tight. In order to understand finger tight, and this is just a jar of powdered potatoes I'm using for demonstration. But let's talk about what happens inside the jar when the canning process is going on in relation to both water bath canning and especially pressure canning. What happens is the food inside the jar gets hot, even to the boiling point, produces steam. Where is that steam going to go? It has to go out of the jar. Otherwise, the jar is going to explode. And so there has to be some venting of the jar during the canning process. And that is why when you put the lid and band on a jar, the lid goes in place, no problem, but the band is very important, how tight you do that. Now, if you do it where it's too loose, too much is going to vent, and that's going to create siphoning. So you need to tighten it down with your fingers, not wrist action, not arm action, but rather just fingers. And you never do this, but it should be just loose enough that you can give it a tug with your fingers and it will open up. So that's what finger tight means. Okay, siphoning. These are 3 jars that demonstrate siphoning. So the other day, I was canning chicken broth in the Presto Digital. When the whole thing had finished and I had cooled down the whole thing and it was ready to open up, for the first time in over 60 years of canning, I actually visually witnessed siphoning on this jar right here. It was full up to here, but when I opened the lid of the canner, liquid began to spew from underneath this band, and it was at that point in time finger tight, but the liquid was just coming out. What causes siphoning? Mostly occurs in pressure canning. It's rare in water bath. In water bath, all you need to be sure to do is to make sure that the water comes at least an inch above the jars. But causes for pressure canning siphoning is too much in the jars, too little head space. Now in every one of these jars, I left adequate head space. In fact, I'm going to remove these bands so that you can see clearly that the head space was about right here. So that wasn't it. What caused that? Well, probably the biggest offender is a sudden temperature change. Now, we may not think that it's sudden because the canners have cooled down, cooled down, cooled down. But even though the temperature inside the canner has cooled down from those way high temperatures in the kill zone, it's down quite a bit, the food does not cool down as quickly as the air inside the canner. And so all of us have witnessed when we've pulled out jars that they are boiling. And so that's what happens when there is a sudden temperature change. They're going to super boil and spew liquid out. So what's the cause? What is the solution for that? Solution for that is to leave them in the canner after the process has finished and give them some extra time in that canner. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Another thing that causes siphoning is uneven pressure, fluctuating pressure. So if you are using a canner where you listen for the jiggling should be very gentle and not. When that happens, you know that your pressure is way too high, and so try to find a place where the pressure stays the same throughout the whole processing. Then, of course, you never want to use previously used lids. You want to wipe the rims and make sure that if the bands are too loose, then, as I said before, that also can cause siphoning. So take a look here. I lost this much liquid here. The liquid right here is down to here, so I lost quite a bit here. And then in this chicken broth, I lost about a good 1/2 inch of liquid on the top. Are these still safe? Yes, they are, because they are above the halfway point. Anything, if this were to have siphoned out to where it was down low, I would have waited till this cooled down, opened the lid, and put these in the refrigerator, because that is not safe. Now, you may notice in the top of this one, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a clump of meat that is on the top right there that is very discolored. So is that safe? Yes, it is safe. So anything that is exposed to the air above the liquid, if it discolors, that's okay. The food is still safe. So that is finger tight and siphoning in a nutshell. Thanks for watching. See you next time.